In the aftermath of the 2024 election, America is even more divided than before. Half the country fears the end of democracy, and the other half welcomes it. As America inches toward the brink of authoritarian rule, now more than ever, we must force ourselves to have the necessary conversation. Welcome to the Necessary Conversation. We have a special lineup today. My dad is not with us. He's preparing for another hip surgery. He's in pain, so it's just going to be my mom representing the Trumpers in the family. My sister is here, of course. I am here, and joining us is a very special guest representing California's 31st District, U.S. Congressman Gil Cisneros. Thank you for being with us.
No, pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Please, the pleasure is all ours. Now, we usually start this show off with my mom does a little thing she likes to call her ditties, where she'll bring up one or two topics in politics and just kind of get our reactions to them. We have no idea what they are. Mom, do you have one for us today?
Yes, and this is more of a serious one. Remember last week I did, or 2 weeks prior, I did Patriots of the Week.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of a real ditty, I want to do the Patriots of the Week this week. There's only,
Okay.
Don't laugh, there's only, this is it. These are the only people that we could have picked this week to be patriots, true patriots. It's the individuals and the agencies that went to Kerrville and started help immediately to save lives, to do everything they could in the midst of this big disaster. They are the patriots of this week, this month, this year, and years to come. I salute you 100%. I guess the first people, of course, would have been the police department right there in Kerrville. Then the National Guard came in. Then the U.S. Coast Guard. And there was one man, his name was Scott Ruskin. And they said he himself alone was credited to saving 165 people early on.
Wasn't it like his first
Wow.
kind of like big disaster that he ever helped with? I feel like I read somewhere in the news like this was his first kind of like action that he had ever taken.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read that, but for sure, number one patriot right there. And then the horse and dog rescuers came in too. And people forget about them all the time, but they help save lives in so many ways. And we salute all of them and salute Patriots of the Week, year and month, and many years to come.
All right, fantastic. We usually do a question from a listener, but I'm not going to do that because I want to get to everything that we're trying to get to as we have, once again, Gil Cisneros with us. So our first topic is, of course, the biggest news in the political realm, the Epstein list this week. After years of right-wing conspiracy theories surrounding a sex trafficking client list believed to have been created and maintained by Jeffrey Epstein, this week the FBI and the DOJ announced there is in fact no Epstein list. The news sent shockwaves through Trump's MAGA base, who felt like they were betrayed by Trump and his loyalists. Deputy Director of the FBI conspiracy theorist podcaster Dan Bongino is rumored to be considering resignation over the fallout, and two of Trump's most important enforcers, AG Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel, have lost all credibility with right-wing influencers and thought leaders in the MAGA movement. In February, Bondi said in a Fox News interview that the Epstein list was sitting on her desk awaiting review. This week, she said it does not exist. Before becoming FBI director, Kash Patel called for the release of the Epstein's client list, accusing Congress of failing to obtain it, and now he too claims it does not exist. Trump's response to this, I don't know if you guys saw it, was a giant, I can't read it all, I have it here, it's 5,000 words. I don't know how long this is, but it starts with this Truth Social post. What's going on with my boys and in some cases, gals? Well, he wrote it. No, you can't get mad at me. He literally wrote it. They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's doing a, all caps, fantastic job. He calls himself having the, in quotes, perfect administration, talk of the world, all this stuff. He's basically trying to divert. So this is what's going on. Let me ask this question to all of us. We will start with Representative Cisneros. Does the Epstein client list exist in your mind?
It's hard to imagine that he wouldn't have a list of all these people that he had contact with and that he was kind of doing all these favors and showing a good time to. The UK seems to have found that list, and that's why, Prince Andrew kind of got taken out of the official duties and everything, right? Because they had info on him and what was going there. So it's hard to imagine that there's not a list. And as you said, right, the attorney general said it was sitting on her desk.
Mhm.
So it miraculously disappeared, I guess.
Mom, do you think there is a list?
Yes, I do. And I do think there's inconsistencies with what Pam Bondi is saying and doing.
Inconsistency. She's
Because
literally
I do
contradicting herself.
believe, I do believe Bongino a little bit more. I trust him a little bit more.
And so
And
what?
isn't he saying if she doesn't resign, I'm out of here? That something's wrong. There's a big rift between them,
Who
right?
knows? I think there's going to be some fallout from this. Certainly, somebody's going to have to resign or get fired. I mean, Trump is not going to take the hit for this. He never does. Somebody else will. But let's ask Haley. Do you think the list exists?
We all know it exists. We all know he's on it. They made a big fucking production with
Mhm.
like all of these people on TikTok handing them giant fucking binders full of Epstein files.
Mhm.
There was an entire fucking thing like, circulating like, oh, it's going to come
Yeah.
out. You're going to see. We know it exists. They're hiding it because he's fucking on it.
Okay, but can I say something?
Yeah.
What about the theory that that he was hired within our government to trap other people in other countries, to use against them to get information for us? What about that theory?
Yeah, maybe. But the bottom line is a big push in the MAGA movement was this idea that Trump was going to come in there and be completely transparent about
Mhm.
all of these different government conspiracy theories. Epstein is one of them, JFK, UFOs, all this stuff.
Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. None of that has happened.
They have,
Uh,
yeah.
and
Where
in
are
this
they?
case, they're not just like pushing the ball down the field. They're not just like, oh, we'll get to it. It's coming. It's coming. They literally now are saying it does not exist. And so the reason for that can really only be one of two things. One is it doesn't exist, meaning the whole conspiracy theory was a lie, and everything they promised all of their voters, some of whom are very concerned about that one issue, never existed. They just did it to get your vote. Or B, it does exist. He is on it. They are hiding it. But my question about that, and we can start with Representative Cisneros, is if the list exists and they are just trying to hide it, why not put out a fake list that doesn't have his name on it?
I don't know. Because there's probably, I mean, look, there's probably a lot of people on this list, right?
Yeah.
Are you
And
on that list?
I
No.
am not
Oh,
on that list.
oh shit.
I never ever met
Shots
the man.
fired.
Yeah,
Good. I'm glad you never met him.
but
Good.
I mean, we know this guy was a bad guy, right? Who did some horrible things.
Yeah.
The things he did to young ladies and exposed them to the sex trafficking and everything was just horrible and bad. And so it is, for me, it is hard to imagine that he did not have some kind of list to kind of protect himself, kind of in a way, to keep him, so that nobody came after him.
Yeah.
That he wouldn't kind of like, hey, if this comes out, you're going to go after me. I'm gonna do this. Um, but it is. I think there has to be something out there, right? And I think right, for the attorney general to say, oh, it's on my desk and I'm reviewing it right now, um, is there, right? And look, I don't put it past Trump to kind of go and lie. I mean, to lie and do
Yeah.
things. They're to say that, hey, let's just get rid of the list. But as to
Yeah.
why they wouldn't make a fake list, I don't know.
They're all fucking liars. There's also a part of this where Pam Bondi was in a press conference about the Epstein files, and they asked her about the recording of him in prison and why there's a whole minute of footage missing. More fucking lies. Like they're literally it's perpetual lies, one after the other. We know Donald Trump is on that list.
Okay, here's what I have another theory. If he is on the list, let's say if he is, wouldn't they have thrown this out there early on before he was ever running and elected? Wouldn't the Democrats somehow dug deep, found it, and just plastered it all over the New York Post or whatever? Why
Yeah.
haven't they turned it out there?
Would it have made a difference to you? Because he's
Yes, it would.
34-time
would.
convicted felon, and that
Yes,
doesn't
it
matter to
probably
you.
would. Yes, it
He's
would.
been accused of sexual assault, and that doesn't
Mhm.
matter to you.
Yes, it does. Stop it.
convicted
So why
of it.
does this?
It would have made a difference. All I'm saying, if it's really there, Democrats would have dug deep,
Yeah.
found it, and showed us. No one showed us.
I do agree with what.
Again, I think there's a lot of people on that list. I don't think it wasn't just a list of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You know,
So a lot of people. Yeah.
there are Democrats and Republicans that associate.
Oh.
And there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that are, you know, and I don't know why it never came out earlier or what it was or there. But the thing is, it wasn't like they had this list before he was arrested either, right?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
you know,
And
it wasn't really out there before.
I agree with what you're saying. It's not just Republicans. I'm always taken back in my mind to the information that we all now know that when you walked into the main house on the Epstein Island, the first thing you saw was a giant oil painting of Bill Clinton in a dress. And that painting, in my opinion, Bill Clinton was a frequent guest of that island. That painting, I
Yes.
think, was Epstein basically saying, like, I own you. I can do anything I want because I have so much blackmail against you and whoever else was on that island. And I think it served as kind of like a reminder to anybody who showed up there that's like, this is what I do. When you come here, this can happen to you. I can do a painting of you in a dress. I can do anything I want. And so I do think that, you know, there are Republicans and Democrats on that list alike. They all stand to lose a great deal, potentially their freedom, if that list comes out. Let me ask this question. We will start again with Representative Cisneros. Whether this client list is real or not, what do you think is the damage done to the MAGA movement? Steve Bannon just came out a couple days ago and said he thinks this is going to bleed off 10% of the MAGA voters.
Well, you know, it's a loss in credibility, right? It's
Yeah.
you say you're going to do this, and Donald Trump said he was going to release the list. It was going to get done, and obviously, if there was no list, um, you know, why even ever say that, right? And you know, he fed into this conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
If it is a fact, a conspiracy theory, right? That there is a list, and he got people rallied around it, and then just to say like, oh, you know what, there is no list, and it's just you lose a lot of credibility with people in there. And I think like you're right. You know, people who are going to take you at your word for this or that, and then you kind of tell them like, oh, you know what? By the way, um, there was no list. That it's gone. It's you can't feed into something, right? And continually feeding into this that there is a list, and then got to be like, oh, there isn't, without losing that credibility. So I think they are going to lose some people.
I have a question about the madam lady. Isn't she still alive? That
Yeah, she's in
Giselle?
prison.
Lane. Yeah.
She is alive in prison, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Why don't we ask her questions?
I mean, I'm sure they
Is
do. And
she
I'm sure
immune
she's
to
like, I'm
this?
saying nothing. I mean, look, I think we can all agree
Mhm.
in terms of Epstein's death. At the very least, it's suspicious. I don't know if he was murdered. Maybe he committed suicide. Those are our two options here. I think, you know, she's probably looking at that and being like,
Yeah, what
I'm
if
not
she
saying
goes
shit. I
next?
don't care.
Yeah,
You know, like I
yeah.
don't want to die.
Yeah, what if
Um,
somebody gets her next? Yeah, you never know. That's
You
sad.
know,
Yeah.
the whole thing about that too, right? It's like somebody who's on suicide watch to kind of not be watched so that he can commit suicide.
yeah,
Right.
Kind of
Right.
makes you ask questions.
A
Mhm.
lot of
exactly.
questions.
And
Yeah.
now the footage, a whole minute is missing
Yeah.
in fucking
I
video. Come on.
I
There's
also
two,
saw there was some computer forensics done on the file, and it had been edited in Adobe Premiere, which is just like kind of a consumer grade video editing software that everyone uses. That isn't to say that, you know, they edited it necessarily. It just had
Mm.
a stamp as having come from that software. So maybe they just imported it for some reason and then exported it to, I don't know.
Yeah.
But there are definitely strange circumstances surrounding that file specifically. Mom, though, let me ask you this. Bannon again says 10% of the MAGA base is going to hemorrhage off because of this. Are you part of that? Will you still vote for Trump? How important is this issue to you as a MAGA voter?
Does it make you question other shit?
it makes me question. Yes, it does.
It
There's
makes you
too many-
question other shit that they
Oh
maybe
my
have been
God.
lying about.
There's too many inconsistencies with this story for me. Yes, that
So
I've read, that I've heard on TV, that I've, got on my AI, looked around. A lot of inconsistencies with this story. I don't know. How do we find the answers?
So will
You're
you
never going to.
question other things in the future? Like
It
if
depends.
Trump says something and then you know, you don't feel right about it and it seems kind of suspicious, would you question it?
Depends on what the topic is.
But you know someone's lying here in the hierarchy of the Trump pantheon. It's either Trump, it's Pam Bondi, it's Kash Patel, it's Dan Bongino, who all the names that are getting thrown around in association with this. You know one of them minimum. I mean, Pam Bondi literally lied. We saw her
Yes.
on TV saying, I have the files, and then saying
Yeah.
the files don't exist. One of those is a lie. She is lying to you directly.
Yes.
I can only assume that order is being given by Trump. She's not just out there shooting from the hip.
But
in this
wait, out of
situation.
your mouth, I've heard before, all politicians lie. Is that not correct?
Yes, that doesn't make it right.
No, it doesn't. But
You use
it
that as like
doesn't.
this catch-all, like, yeah, whatever, they all do it. But it's like they
No.
shouldn't, you know?
Yes, this makes me question other things probably. Yes, it does.
Okay, interesting. This week also, it was revealed around this case that Kash Patel is making people do lie detector tests in the FBI to prove loyalty to him. Did you read this part of the story? All this
No.
Epstein stuff is going down, and so there are now people in the FBI that like he feels he can't trust, which means maybe they will leak the real list. I'm not sure. Kash Patel, I think, is essentially a pawn in this whole thing. I don't think he has enough power or clout to make any decisions on his own. So when Trump says there is no list, he says there is no list. And now I need to make sure everybody in my FBI is kind of like tightened up. So who's loyal to me? He's now forcing FBI agents to come in and take lie detector tests with questions like, have you ever said anything negative about me?
Wow. Wow.
Mom, do you think the FBI should be run like that?
Well, you've got to know who's loyal to your ass and who isn't, I guess.
Holy shit. Okay.
You have to know who's on board with you.
Yeah. Representative Cisneros, have you ever had to take a lie detector test in Congress to prove loyalty to your party?
No. And you never should have to take. You know, your loyalty is supposed to be to the Constitution, not to an
This is true.
individual.
Yeah.
This is true.
You know, if he's doing this, that's obviously he's worried because he's not on the up and up. And he's kind of, like you said, projecting these false negatives or whatever that Trump is making him do. And so he's worried. I would be worried too if I was saying stuff that was probably not true all the time and worried about people exposing me for the lies that I'm telling.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is just kind of my 2 cents on this whole Epstein thing. When you are like basing a major part of your platform on conspiracy theory, eventually, if you win, you're now put in a position where the public believes you have the power to expose the truth about this conspiracy. So either the truth is too bad for Trump to expose, it will personally put him in some kind of bad liability situation, or the truth is it never existed in the first place. Either way, there is, I think, irreparable damage now done to the MAGA base because of a conspiracy theory. That is wild to me, that this is the thing that might finally crack through. You, Mom, even said yourself, you're now questioning Trump for the first time ever in your life, right?
Well, there's way too many. It's making me wonder. Truths, not
Right.
truths. What's going on? Yeah.
God, I just never thought it would be like the Epstein list is the thing that does it, but it does seem like, at least this week, and I know the news cycle moves fast and there'll be some other big new shiny thing they throw at us next week. But for right now, it seems like there are some people who are super pissed about this, who like this to them was maybe a central issue of why they even voted for Trump in the first place. And it may do real damage to, you know, I hesitate to say the Republican Party, but like the MAGA movement within the Republican Party.
I want to see the Kennedy files too and understand all of that.
Well, we live in a culture where people feed on like salacious shit, you know, and they really fucking wanted that list. We really wanted to see who was on that because it is salacious. You know, they want it. Like people thrive on drama. That's why half the country voted for Donald Trump. I mean, like they like the shit, and so they wanted it. And I think a lot of people now are like, well, I'm not going to get that, and I'm mad.
But it's also antithetical to his whole thing is there are these rich elites for whom the law operates differently. They are above any kind of reproach. And now he's in that position and he's like, I'm going to expose all these elites. And he's like, oh, wait, I am one of them.
No. We'll see. We'll see.
What's that?
I mean,
what,
I
Mom?
think
Say what? Mom, did you say something? What's going on over
Trying to say somehow we will find this out, right?
I
We're
think it
not.
goes
there?
further
No,
than
we're
just a
never going to find
list.
it out.
There,
Yeah.
it goes further than a list. There's footage. There's all kinds of photos. There's videos of this shit. Like at some point, there has to be some kind of like inside informant, some kind of fucking FBI agent that knows all this shit that's going to spill it. Like there's more than a list.
Yeah, and Haley, to your point, right? I think we have this. There are this group of people, right, that like they are really into the fact about conspiracy theories, whether it be UFOs or whether it be Kennedy, and so many other things. You know, Obama's birth certificate.
Right.
And these were things that Donald Trump really kind of fed into, right? That hey, we're going to get down in this. We're going to get it. We're going to expose it. We're still waiting for the Pella guy to come out with his exposing the 2020 election and everything. But he feeds into this, right? Donald Trump has fed into this, and people have bought onto it because they think like, okay, finally, someone's going to tell us the truth and give us everything that we need to know. And he's basically like letting them down right now, right there. So I think it is going to make a difference.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of vulnerable people who were grifted and are now part of this cult mentality that like, he can do no wrong. But at some point, everyone has a threshold.
Right.
Everyone has like that ceiling where like, oh, that's fucking wrong. Now you start to question things. And I hope that this is the catalyst for his fucking MAGA downfall. I hope that half of his fan base just kind of falls by the wayside because they realize he's a liar.
It certainly is
It's
the
not
most.
going to fall by the wayside. I
No, I
believe
mean-
Dan Bongini. I
John
trust him
Bon
for
Jovi.
some reason. I trust him. I don't know why. I trust him.
Bongino?
John Bon
Yeah.
Jovi?
And he's against Pam Bondi. Because he said if she doesn't go, he will. So there's a rift there. Something's going on.
Of course there is. But the bottom line is like, this always happens. This happened in the first era of Trump. You had a bunch of his cabinet members infighting. I remember Rex Tillerson got in there and was like, what the fuck? Bye. He just like bailed instantaneously. This always happens with Trump. The main thing though is, can we get to Trump? Will this take him down? And that reaction, that tweet or the Truth Social post that he did, that is like 10,000 words long, was wild. That's the most flustered I've ever seen one of his posts.
Brother, and then
obviously...
he followed it up with the Rosie O'Donnell shit. Like he's unhinged.
Yeah.
Like unhinged.
Well,
He doesn't want her back.
Well, he's already trying to defect, right? To like get to another subject and get away from this. So it's like
Rosie O'Donnell.
Is a menace to the country. And we need to take away her citizenship.
She doesn't even live here. She already moved, didn't she?
Here.
She moved to Ireland.
She's been in Ireland for
Smart.
like 10 years or some shit.
But she said she would come back if he leaves her alone or whatever.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Maybe she'll get that wish. Let's move on to our next topic, the Texas floods and FEMA. This week, reporting by the New York Times revealed that huge numbers of calls from Texas flood victims in dire need of assistance to FEMA went unanswered because of a new policy implemented by DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. FEMA's disaster assistance hotline fielded 3,027 calls on July 5th, replying to 99.7% of them. But after call center contracts lapsed on July 5th, only 846 of 2,363 calls, roughly 35.8%, were answered on July 6th, and just 2,613 of 16,419 calls, roughly 15.9%, on July 7th. Because of these contract lapses. The person responsible for this catastrophe was Kristi Noem. She initiated a new policy requiring any spending over $100,000 to require her personal approval, which resulted in staff contracts remaining expired until July 10th, which eliminated a large number of personnel who would have answered those calls. On Fox News, Noem dismissed the criticism as trash, not only defending the delay, but shifting blame to local officials for response shortcomings. Mom, you gave your Patriot of the Week to a person down there who's just taking it into their own hands to go out and rescue people. Do you think Kristi Noem is at fault for this? Should she resign?
No way. I watched her this morning on Meet the Press being drilled by, what's the lady's name? The pretty one with the black hair. Anyway, she was drilled and questions were thrown at her left and right.
Uh-huh.
She said as soon as Texas asked for help, it was there. The federal government was there as quickly as they can. She said all of these accusations right now about what you just brought up, the phone calls not made and all that they weren't answering the phone, she said completely false. The response time was immediate within 2 hours. FEMA was there. She was there within an hour, I think. FEMA was there. Coast Guard was there. Border Patrol was there. Request was put in immediately, and they were there. She said this is fake news. That's
So you
her
deny it.
exact words.
Okay. So you deny it completely. Now, remember, Pam Bondi told you she had the Epstein files on her desk. Now they don't exist. Do you believe
That's
Kristi
Pam
Noem could
Bondi.
be lying here?
That's Pam Bondi.
Okay. Representative Cisneros, do you think that there should be some kind of repercussion for Kristi Noem in this situation?
Look, I think the Mexican government sent people down there before FEMA did in
Yeah.
order to help out and assist. I still don't know that FEMA's down there from what I'm hearing.
Right.
But look, you can't micromanage and ignore your job at the same time, which is exactly what she's doing, right? She is traveling the country. Why the hell she needs to travel the world as the head of Homeland Security is beyond me, right? But she needs to stay here. She needs to do her job, and you can't micromanage, down to like $100,000. So that not people do. There's people there that they're hired there to do a job. You got to let them do their job. And when you try and micromanage everything, this is what happens. Again, another liar. You can't trust anybody who shoots their dog. Sorry, I just don't believe anything she says.
That's a fair point.
I completely agree, Mom. That her shooting the dog, which she, kind of proudly came out and said this in her book. That to me, I thought was going to be the line too far. You live your whole life currently around your dog, her medical needs, her, need to go out to pee. You did it right before the show. You had to take a couple minutes to let her out. And that had no effect on you whatsoever.
Okay. I'm not going to address that. I'm pleading the fifth. What she said, she also said, and I believe this, too many people are playing politics over this horrific disaster. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Hang on, though. Hang on.
The
hang
people.
on.
Wait,
hang
wait.
on,
One more thing.
Mom. Hang on. Let me stop you. Let me. Wait. Let me stop you. Do you remember when the wildfires out here in California were tearing apart and just sundering entire communities?
Yes.
And Trump blamed it on the governor and the local city officials for not clearing out the brush. Do you remember that?
And having no water.
But
was that
then
not true?
in that moment, you didn't care if they turned a natural disaster into playing politics. You were, in fact, in support of it on his side. But now it's the opposite. Why is that?
I'm not saying it's the opposite. In
You
natural
are. You just said I don't like when
everyone should have help.
That is not what you said during the California wildfires. You and Dad both sat there and said, people get what they deserve. Your government sucks. That's why this is happening. They weren't prepared.
Well, I don't like you living in California. We've discussed this.
Okay, that's not what we're talking about. What I'm saying is you have that attitude about California back when that's happening, a giant natural disaster, which of course is no single human being's fault. Could things have been managed better here or there? Maybe, who knows? But you blamed
need water when there's a fire. Let's just put it that way.
I agree. You blamed it on Gavin Newsom.
Yes.
So did Dad. Now you're saying these floods are happening in Texas. Don't blame the government. Kristi Noem I saw her on Meet the Press. She's not lying. I don't like when it turns political. So why is that happening now? But when the California wildfires were happening, you guys were happy to blame that on the governor of our state.
I guess your governor was not prepared for all of you to have that fire. There was no water.
You guys also said that they didn't deserve FEMA's help and that they should do it themselves as a state.
I did not say that. Your dad did. He's not here to defend himself. I'm sorry.
Okay. So you believe FEMA should exist still?
I think it should exist and work with the federal government altogether.
FEMA is the federal government. What do you mean?
I mean funds from Trump if more money is needed.
Okay.
There are people, and they won't say their names right now, with these attacks that are saying during this loss of life, trying to pin it on Trump. They won't come forward.
But
It's
you're
like
you're you're
fake
saying
news.
like you're saying that the federal government should be using FEMA to give money where it's needed. You do know, as we talked about last week, they took $450 million a year out of FEMA to
Yes.
build and maintain Alligator Alcatraz.
Right.
Do you think that money might be better used right now in Texas?
I have no idea. The states, though, the states can step up with money, and so can individuals. I've seen all kinds of individuals give money also.
Okay. So you don't think that,
Well, that
sorry, please.
to replace $450 million by any individual is that's a big call.
Yes, it is.
Even by any state, that's a big chunk of cash for them to kind of pull out of their budget. That's just not money like that lying around, right? This is why we need the federal government in these things. And and look, some of that brush stuff, a lot of it was on federal land that the federal government didn't clear. Um,
Mhm.
some of it, I think we know now, right, that it was started by I think, well, one of them was Southern California Edison, kind of had a spark or something in one of their transformers or something that started it. Um, it's just, it is, yeah. I mean, FEMA has to be there to kind of, pop in, and whether it's hurricanes on the East Coast, fires in California, flooding in Texas, it's there to kind of help in need, during that time when it's needed. And the federal government's the only one that could really has the ability to kind of help out with that kind of support when it's needed, when you need,
To
hundreds.
empower the states, right? But the states should have money to help too, right?
Well, the states do, and they do, right? But it's, I think, to have any state to kind of pull out of their budget like a couple $1 billion to like go and help a national or tragedy is just, it's a big expense and a big, a big call on any state for that to kind of be able to kind of do that.
Do you,
But so FEMA needs to be overhauled though, because what about the stories in, was it North Carolina, where if you had a Trump sign out front that, this is maybe just a story, maybe fake news, but if a sign was out front with Trump's name, they would go around it and not go to that, up to that house. So should FEMA be overhauled, right?
that's fake,
Well,
Mom.
yeah.
And be held more accountable.
That's not real.
Okay, we'll see. I don't know.
It's
That's
the
what.
Epstein list.
Yeah, right.
Let me ask you this, Representative Cisneros. Is there any talk in Congress about how Kristi Noem is handling this? Are other members of Congress that you're having conversations with appalled by it? Do they think business as usual? What's the attitude?
Well, no, like I think there's a lot of people upset with how she's handling things, right? And it's not even just this, but even before, right? She's
Mm,
going around, she's Ice Barbie, right? She's going around. She
yeah.
came here into California talking about how the city was on fire and devastation everywhere, and how she was coming to liberate the people of Los Angeles. It's all a bunch of bullshit, right, that
Yeah.
she's kind of putting out there, right? So there's a lot of people in Congress that are kind of out there, right? And again, too, like I mentioned earlier, it's like she she's this woman is obsessed with being on television and projecting an image of herself, right? Rather than actually focusing on doing the job that needs to get done.
Yeah.
That's
You
the whole
know,
cabinet, though, right? We're all
yeah,
just a bunch of reality stars
Secretary of
now.
Defense is the same way. That guy he's more about putting out videos than he actually is about running the Department of Defense.
Hmm.
You know, you're right. A lot of them are like that.
Let's move on. We have reached the midpoint of this show. We usually do a thing on the show called the Simmer Down, but I don't even know if we need to simmer down. This has been very cordial. Maybe because its dad is not here. Maybe that's the reason. I don't know. But
Let me,
nonetheless,
I need to explain real quick what's wrong with him because people are going to
please.
get upset because they
Okay.
think they like him, I think, but then some of them don't like him. Anyway, uh, he had a year ago, he had a hip replacement. That hip's
Mhm.
great. Then about 10 days ago, he's going, uh-oh, my other one's hurting. So he
Right.
goes back to the doctor. The doctor shoots it with a steroid. Did not use an x-ray machine. They usually put up a x-ray machine and say, oh, it's right there. Boom, there goes a steroid. That doctor asked Dad, where does it hurt? He pointed, boom, in went the steroid. 2 days later, your dad couldn't walk. We're on day 11. I called 4 times back to the doctor. I said, this is not right. Something's not right. First words were, suck it up, buttercup. Next words were, get back to PT.
Mhm.
Next words, this is normal. keep walking. On the 5th call, I think, finally he said, I'll see him if you bring in an MRI. So we went and got the MRI. Just got the results now. And the doctor also received them and called me within 45 minutes. The ball at the top of the femur is crumbling. The tendon and ligament underneath has rips in it and tears.
Wow.
So suck it up, Buttercup. Keep walking. And that's what he tried to do. So he's in great pain. We have a doctor appointment Tuesday. Hopefully get that fixed with the robotic surgeries they're going to do on him, I think.
Yeah,
Well,
cool.
hopefully that goes well. And,
Yeah,
Yes, for sure.
The sad that he's not here, because on this very podcast, my dad one time called himself or likened himself to Superman. And so the topic I was going to bring up is, have you seen Superman yet? Anyone? Haley?
I have.
I have seen it too. Mom, have you seen it?
No, I have not.
Representative Cisneros, have you seen it?
I saw it, yes.
Okay, so we can
Nice.
have an interesting conversation about this. It made $210 million opening weekend, almost half the price of Alligator Alcatraz.
Stop it.
It is, I don't think there's any argument to be made here other than, or against the fact that this is an anti-Trump movie.
Mhm.
Lex Luthor is 100% Donald Trump.
Yes.
It is about immigration. It is about, seeing brown people as the other. It's about all of these kind of, woke ideals, I guess. And the internet is kind of talking about, oh, fuck it, it's woke. It doesn't matter. It made $210 million opening weekend. It's the biggest opening weekend this year. It's a massive success. So my question, I guess, about this is, do you think that like political messaging in it has anything to do with the success, or is it just, it's a big James Gunn Superman movie? Representative Cisneros.
I agree with you, right? The messaging in there, right, was in there and things. And I was actually glad you said that, because I was kind of thinking like, well, is this what I'm seeing here in that?
Oh yeah, it's definitely what you're seeing. Me too.
100%.
I was sitting in movie theater like, what
Lex
the
Luthor, you could have called Lex Luthor Donald Trump and it would have been the same.
Yeah.
No difference. But I don't know. I still think people kind of like see Superman superhero movie, and maybe that was it. I don't think people really kind of knew the plot yet or what it was about, kind of going that opening weekend. But so I will kind of go with the side of like, hey, it's a Superman movie. Warner Brothers is promoting the hell out of it, and that's why
Right.
people went.
The marketing.
I disagree. So I'll go watch like superhero movies and shit, and one of my kids was begging me to go, and like my husband wanted to go. I was like, I don't want to fucking see another Superman movie. And then I read a review, and I read that it was woke as fuck, and that it was addressing like the political climate today. And I said, holy shit, I want to see that. So I was directly affected by knowing that it was about shit that's happening today.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the Christopher Reeves Superman 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's nostalgic for me,
Right.
but this is easily my favorite Superman movie to date. I didn't anticipate walking into this and like really loving it. And I was blown away. The casting was like fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. It's a good movie.
There was comedy, like there was good action, but like the fucking message was real, and he has that monologue at the end where he's like, I might be a fucking alien from another planet, but ultimately I am human like you. And
Right.
and Lex Luthor, in that moment, like you see him as Donald Trump, and he's like, my hope is that you would be too, but so it was like there was this monologue at the end that really fucking touched people, I think. And the whole movie, so many parallels. Like so many parallels.
Yeah.
You can't walk out of that and not see that this is what's happening today.
Like I said, I have not seen it, but why do we have to take a kid's movie like Superman and make it political?
Why is it a kid's movie? Who said it was a kid's movie?
Superman is a kid's movie in my mind.
I mean,
What?
you could take your kid to it. There's maybe one moment of kind of, depending on how old your kid is, violence that is maybe a little
I
dicey
thought
for a
Superman's
young
always
audience,
been a
but-
kid's movie. The superhero, the strong man,
No, I mean
not the woke person,
it's not.
not the illegal. We always have to make things political. Now we're doing it with
Just to
this
let you know,
movie.
you haven't seen this movie yet, Mom. But
I know.
I will
be
say
quiet.
this: whether no, you don't have to be quiet. I'm just saying you're like shitting on this movie you haven't even seen.
Well,
But
okay.
I will say, whether you go to it for the political commentary or not, it's in there. And if you
Mhm.
are going to it
Mhm.
with your family or your friends or whatever to see a kids movie or superhero movie, you're going to leave that theater, whether you know it or not, with some shit implanted in your brain
Right.
where it's going to get to people. And the amount of money it's making, the amount of people that are seeing this, to me, it was just like, it was a good reminder that art, because I think for a long time, especially popular art, movies,
Mhm.
music, TV shows, and stuff, have just been like apolitical because they're
Mhm.
afraid of pissing off this side or that side, and then people won't see my movie or whatever. And this was just a good reminder that it's like, if it's done well, you can just sneak it in and it's right there and everybody's going to see it. And there may be Trump people that are like ignoring it. It's not about that, whatever, whatever. But even he's kind of, his ruffles are feathered, or his feathers are ruffled about this. Trump, I mean, to some degree. I read something saying like he's pissed that the movie
Well,
is
no,
anti-Trump.
like the day that it dropped, fucking White House official had an AI generated image of him as
I saw
Superman.
that.
Okay.
I saw it. Yeah,
He is the
it's
crying
wild.
Lex Luthor at
Yeah.
the end. He's the
Yeah.
fucking baby at the end. Like, you
It's
can't
all
beat
about making
me.
money.
And I'm sure they didn't see the movie first or read anything about it right before they
Right.
made that image. And I'm
Right.
sure, there's going to be a point where he comes out and talks about how it's like the worst Superman movie ever.
Yeah.
100%.
Now I have to
100%.
see it.
He's
Yeah.
going
Now
to
I
try
have
to deport James Gunn next.
I actually think you'd like it, Mom. They have a dog in it. Crypto is in
Yeah.
it. And he's
Aw.
pretty fucking cute. I think you'd like the movie.
It's
Politics
a great
aside.
movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think you will be able to, your suspension of disbelief will not be that Superman is real or he can fly or has superpowers. It will be that it is not about Donald Trump.
Right. I think you'd actually like it.
Okay. Let's move on to our next topic. Trump versus the Supreme Court. In late January 2025, the Supreme Court ruled in a 6-3 decision that Trump has to stop deportations of undocumented immigrants without due process, but they kept doing it. A whistleblower has recently alleged that Emil Bove, Trump's top DOJ official nominated to the Third Circuit, ordered lawyers to ignore federal judges' injunction halting deportations, and also told them basically to say fuck off or fuck you or something. I forget the exact wording. April 10th, the Supreme Court unanimously voted to uphold a lower court's decision forcing Trump to facilitate Abrigo Garcia's return to the U.S. It took them 58 days to comply with that order. These are just a few of the transgressions by Trump against the legislative branch of our government. I want to ask you this, Representative Cisneros. In Congress, when you're talking to your colleagues, how dire is that situation that Trump is openly ignoring the entire legislative branch of our government?
Well, I think on the Democratic side, it's definitely dire, right? That he
Yeah.
is, from everything like, to not only ignoring the court decisions, right, but ignoring the appropriations. Um,
Yeah.
money that Congress has appropriated to spend, whether it be on USAID, the Department of Education, and other areas of the federal government, that he's just like freezing. You know, grants and everything that have already been appropriated by Congress that were signed into law, and he's just saying, no, we're not going to do that. I'm going to hold off. I'm going to freeze. Um, it's a big concern, and I don't think it's hard to imagine that the founding fathers ever really kind of, you like to think that they prepared or kind of thought of everything, but to have an actual, leader that was going to just ignore the rule of law, um, it's just, I don't think they ever thought of that, right? I don't think I
Yeah.
ever thought about it, right? It's like, if the courts say this is the way our government, right? Okay, we have to go by the court, and if you don't agree with it, appeal the decision.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it's always been, and they're just, no, we're just going to ignore it.
And seemingly without any repercussion. Like, I mean,
Right.
I guess that's my next question to you is like, is there anything Congress can do to enforce
Well, that's the
some
thing
of these
is,
decisions?
and that is the thing is that I think they realize, or they've kind of come to this, is that the executive branch, right, is the enforcer of the law. Congress passes the laws. Congress says this is what needs to be done. The president signs it into law, but then he's also the executor of the laws. He's the one that's supposed to make sure that they're carried out,
Yeah.
and he's not doing that part, right? He's not living up to his responsibility under the Constitution of what he's supposed to do, and just doing whatever the hell he feels like he needs to do, whatever the fuck he wants. It's just it is And look, there's a lot of court cases that he's losing a lot of these court cases.
Sure.
The vast majority of them, which is why he's kind of up in arms, is we're just not going to do it. We're going to ignore it.
Haley, how long do you think he can do this, kind of openly defy the legislative branch before there is some admittance from like mainstream media that we are no longer living in a democracy?
I mean, for us, it was fucking yesterday, but
But we're not
for
mainstream media. I'm talking about like when I'm watching Fox News,
Fox
CNN,
News, yeah.
MSNBC, none of them are saying, well, we're living in a dictatorship now, but we are. I mean, that's effectively
Right.
what is happening. And my question really is like, how much more of this will have to happen? We have essentially Gestapo running through MacArthur Park here in LA. Nobody seems to be saying we're living in a dictatorship now, but we are. When do you think that'll happen?
I don't think it will ever come from right-wing media ever.
But even left-wing media isn't really saying that.
Some
They're
of
just
some
like,
of the
well,
new some
ICE
of the
did another
shit.
raid today.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you've not seen CNN come out and say like there's a concentration camp in Florida.
Yeah.
They're still using the verbiage to like kind of downplay it, detention center or I don't know. I think it's gonna take like that particular scenario. I think it might take like murdering people on site, like us witnessing the murder of fucking people at that
Yeah.
concentration camp. Because at that point, you can't ignore what's going on there. Right now, you can push aside that there's maggots in their food, that they have no clean water, that there's 34 people in a fucking kennel, basically, with no running AC and it's flooding. Like,
Yep.
people can kind of push that aside. But when we start seeing bodies and death, like, can you ignore that anymore? Can we now call it a concentration camp?
Yeah.
ICE is kidnapping people off the streets right fucking now. It's
Mm-hmm.
happening right now. That is the Gestapo.
Yeah.
I think it's going to literally take death. It's going to take them fucking killing people in the streets instead of kidnapping until the news starts saying what it is.
Yeah.
Before it happens at what you call a concentration camp, which is not, it's going to happen when the people in the street don't stop throwing the rocks. They're throwing the rocks. They're coming at the ICE people. Soon, ICE will get out of those vehicles, and that's when the confrontation is going to start. And then it'll be sad.
Well,
Then somebody
I
will
don't.
get hurt.
They already are coming out of the vehicles. They are, he said, kind of going. They're masked individuals. They're not saying who they are. They're rounding up people. They're rounding up people that look like me. There's no white people in any of these ICE facilities. There's no white people over there at Alligator Alcatraz. They're all people of color.
There's a
And
report that
Stephen Miller's plan to make this country white again is what he wants to do.
Yeah, it's all Project 2025 is coming to fruition. And all these during fucking elections, I kept telling you, I need you to read Project 2025. Go fucking look at what that says. It's all coming to fruition.
I thought our plan was to make this country safe again because the border had been open for 4 years and let drug smugglers in, people that were in other prisons in other countries. The sex trafficking people came in. We lost 300,000 babies. Where the hell are they? Oh, wait, they're in the marijuana camp that they just busted.
What?
There was a 14-year-old in there working, and some of them, with no support, no help, living with no one. I bet they're working in there to make the money to give back to the cartel that allowed them to come across.
Well, that was the marijuana camp, I guess, that they did, right? Was actually a legal kind of cannabis.
Right, they busted it.
It was a legal cannabis farm that was there.
And there were 14 children working there. That was this week.
Well, I don't look. I have a problem with our whole agricultural thing anyway, right? That actually does allow children to work on out in farms and stuff like that, and to kind of do that. There is no you can't go out and have the child labor laws don't protect children on agricultural things, right?
Right.
So they can go out there and work on fields and things like that, picking the various agricultural crops. And there's a lot of people that I know that did that, kind of growing up as children.
Uh-huh.
Helping them, but the thought was to kind of go and to help and support their family because they kind of had to do it as a collective unit to kind of work together in order to support the family. But I think it is something like if we could actually start paying them livable wages, then maybe we could get the children out of the fields. They
Right.
wouldn't have to work there.
But what about your mayor that just stated she's going to give everyone free money? All the illegals. She wants to give illegals free money. I've read it three different
Well,
places.
she's not my mayor, but I haven't heard that.
She's
I
my
The
mayor.
mayor of LA.
Yeah.
The mayor of LA. I just saw it on the
Yeah.
news. It was on big news station.
I didn't see that. I do want to get to this point, Haley, that you brought up, which is the conditions at Alligator Alcatraz. That was going to be one of our next topics. They CBS News had an interview with this reggaeton artist named Limsy La Figura, and he basically said, "There's no water to take a bath. It's been 4 days since I've taken a bath. They only brought a meal once a day, and it has maggots. They never take off the lights for 24 hours. The mosquitoes are as big as elephants." Further reporting is claiming that the detainees were not given toothbrushes or toothpaste. The toilets don't flush, and when you do, they flood the whole place with shit water. There is heat and bug infestations throughout the compound, frequent and abrupt outages in air conditioning. Mom, I know that you are heavily against any immigrants. Do you think this is how any people should be treated?
No. And I'm not against immigrants. I
Okay.
want them to come into our country the correct way. Like
Right.
my grandmother came through Ellis Island. You have to give your name, what occupation you're going to do, where you're going to go, so we know
Uh-huh.
where they went.
But
That's
that's
the
a
way my
lie.
family has
You're
done it
okay,
through
but
the
hang
ages.
on. You're saying that, and that's a lie, because when we tell you about ICE raids happening at courthouses where people are showing up to go through their immigration process
Uh-huh.
legally, they have appointments, they have their documents, they're ready to do whatever the next step in their process is, and ICE yanks them out of the courthouse and throws them in a van, you say that's correct. That should be happening.
I
So you
have
can't
not
say
seen
both
it, but
things.
no, that is not correct. And you know where I think we have fouled up, or this administration has? The people that have records, that are felons, that have not done their due if they have been arrested. Those are the people that need to be gone.
Which is what we're trying to tell you. Like, yes,
The rapists, the murderers.
there are some bad people who have crossed the border.
Yes.
We acknowledge that. But there are also just brown people being
You're
arrested
saying you don't want anybody
because of
brown.
the color of their skin.
You're saying
Because
you
they're
don't need,
Latino.
you're saying you don't want
Yeah.
anybody brown.
No, I don't want innocent people being thrown in fucking concentration camps.
Neither do I.
They
Why
are-
would I want that?
ICE is raiding businesses. Okay, people who work and pay taxes are being taken to concentration camps.
Okay, I know you're not going to believe this and you're going to call me a liar. Your father and I have given some clothes, some money to some people here that walked across the river. We know where they're at. We are helping them out. So don't think that we are scum of the earth, okay?
What does that have to do with
What?
anything that we're talking about?
I'm trying
Illegals. We are
to
helping
explain to
illegals
you.
right here.
Okay.
I'm trying to explain to you that in your mind, like you think that all of these immigrants are rapists
No, I
and
don't.
they're bringing drugs. Most of them are not. ICE is arresting normal fucking people off the streets, pregnant women, children with leukemia, people from their businesses, people showing up to court to get their papers. ICE is arresting normal fucking people just trying to make it here in what
Yeah.
they
Also
thought was a great
arresting-
country.
Hang,
Yeah.
They're
hang
also
on.
arresting the
We have
bad
some
Representative
guys.
people,
Cisneros,
get round to, they came after some people like in my district that were just, went on their lunch break while they were working, kind of walking over to like a little store, the convenience store to like, grab soda, grab a water, a little snack. And they just stopped them as they were kind of there, right? These are people who are working, right? Or they're kind of just trying to live and make a better life for themselves.
Did they arrest them?
Oh yeah, yeah, they did. Of course they did. They're arresting U.S. citizens.
And where are they now?
Well, who knows? They're like in camps, and that was one of the things when we went to an ICE facility. They wouldn't let me in, which is as a member of Congress, I have the right to go into any ICE facility. Now they're trying to put like restrictions and limitations, saying that we have to give a notice and stuff like that, which is against the law. because they can't do that. Should be able to show, but they wouldn't let me in. We ran into a gentleman who was looking for his nephew. Hadn't heard from him for 4 days. When we were there, they're not letting them make their call. They're not reading them their rights. They're not doing anything. And then the head of ICE or the I whatever the hell that guy's name is. I can't even think of it.
Ultimate.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just saying that. Well, yeah, they have the ability and they're able to go and do that, right? But they don't under the law have the ability just to go and round up people and take them and do whatever the hell they want.
So in these
It is, yeah.
situations, like especially with Alligator Alcatraz and all the stuff you're talking about, laws are very clearly being broken.
Mm-hmm.
What is the repercussion? Is there anything that will happen as a result of this? Is this situation ever going to be corrected?
Well, I think you need you need the Republicans in Congress to grow a backbone and kind of say like, hey, this is enough. Enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
We can't allow this to happen anymore. But as long as they allow them to keep doing it, there is no repercussion to kind of stop it.
Well, I
But
mean,
even if Congress,
they just beefed up the bill to fucking fund
Yeah,
this shit by like how much? $400 million?
yeah. And they got ICE is going to have a bigger budget in the Marine Corps now.
This
yeah,
shit
that's
isn't gonna
wild.
stop.
Yeah.
Would this not make people who are not legal afraid, and they would self-deport and go back to the country that they came from?
Well,
It would make me scared. You know
well,
what I'm saying? That's what they're saying. Self-deport wherever
But
you're.
that's another thing that's going on that they're saying that the individual said is that they are torturing people to make them self-deport.
yeah.
Torturing them.
And
Yeah.
also, like, think about if
I
you
haven't
are
heard
one of
that.
these people. Think about if you're in this country, you don't have your papers, you've been here for some amount of time, maybe your family's here, whatever the case may be, and they're telling you self-deport or you're going to Alligator Alcatraz. So what does self-deportation look like? I have to walk into an ICE office. I have to call ICE and say, I'm ready to self-deport. I'm like, that doesn't seem like a good option because I would
No.
think they're going to show up, put me in zip ties, and throw me in fucking Alligator Alcatraz. I don't know anybody who would be like self-deporting necessarily, but my question to you, Representative Cisneros, is they're committing these crimes, and you're saying the Republicans have to grow a spine and say you can't do this anymore. Let's say that happens, then what? I feel like that's not going to do anything either.
Well, then I think it's then you kind of get into bigger things, right? In the constitutional issues and stuff like that. As far as like, are they going to
Yeah.
step up? Are they going to speak up? Are they going to hold people accountable now?
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to impeach members of the president's cabinet? Are they going to impeach the president? If they don't change and kind of do things, but it has to happen.
Why are we in this situation, though? Why are we here? 4 years of Biden letting anybody and everybody walk straight across.
Jesus Christ.
A lot of them.
Oh my God. So wait a minute, Mom.
Look,
You're
I'm
saying
I'm not going to disagree with you in saying that there weren't a lot of people that came across, but there's a lot of people that they're rounding up that are here legally.
I know.
That have TPS.
Yes.
That they are doing what needs to be done. They are following the rules. They're checking in, and they need to be checking in, and they put a quota, on ICE officers that you have to like get so many like, Stephen Miller brought all these people in and say, we need 3,000 arrests a day, 3,000 deportations. We got to get these people out of here. So, there's just so much going on that's just wrong and
Yeah.
inhumane. The way
I
they're
just-
treating these people, right? And again, a lot of these people were coming in. A lot of them were asking for asylum because they are coming from bad places that were like El Salvador and other Latin American countries or Haiti or wherever it may be. Trying to do it the right way.
Are you
Yeah.
scared that you could get caught one day, that they would
Oh,
take
hell
you?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So are you staying home more, or what are you doing?
No, I'm not staying home more, but I think, look, they arrested our senator, right? And I think
Yeah.
they are going, after people that look like me. And I think, I don't run in these like high circles or anything like that where these like with elites, a lot of my family, it's my family's my family, right? And I still kind of hang out with them. They did a big roundup or like a big threat or like at a swap meet here, which is like a swap meet here in California, which was the Santa Fe Spring swap meet. A lot of Latinos go there, right? They go there, they listen to music, they have a good time, they shop. Um, they had my cousin was there. There was like images of it empty, kind of like a few weeks ago because people were afraid. I've hung out there before, right? And again, right? It's not like they are racially profiling people that look a certain way, and it doesn't matter if they, there's no way to tell if the person's like a citizen or not a citizen. It's just like if you look Latino, it's like we're gonna stop you, and their excuse is always you look like somebody we're looking for, right? Which is just like what's that? Oh, okay, brown and Latino. That's right. Who we're looking for, and yeah, I would not put it past me to ever get stopped. It's not like I've never been stopped before by law enforcement because of who I am. Driving, I remember driving to work one time, getting pulled over by a police officer who kind of gave me the, oh, you fit a description of somebody we were looking for. He just kind of wanted to stop and check on me, for whatever reason, because this was when I worked at Frito-Lay. I worked the night shift. I was going in late. I started my shift like at 10. I think that day I went a little late for whatever reason. But Latino driving around midnight, we're gonna pull them over. So yeah, I would be kind of afraid of them kind of coming in and see me if I was at a place where a lot of Latinos frequent, that I may frequent as well because I'm Latino, that them kind of coming to me and pulling me aside, asking me to see my papers.
Chad, can I ask a quick question before we end?
We do have to wrap this up, but go ahead, Mom. One more question.
Chad doesn't know I'm going to ask you this, but I think it's an okay question. If it puts you on the spot and you don't want to say, then don't say.
I literally don't know what's about to happen.
Okay. Let's see. Since 2008, you previously served under the Secretary of Defense for the Personnel and Readiness in the Biden administration. That's right?
Correct.
And you were the representative in California from 2019 to 2021. Just this last week, Biden's personal doctor, during the time that he was in office, pleaded the fifth about his mental decline. Can you give us insight how you feel about his mental decline? I mean, you were there, right? You saw him.
I did, but I will say this too. I did not deal with him like on a regular,
like interact
with him. My interactions were mostly with the Secretary of Defense and the Deputy Secretary of Defense.
Okay.
That's who I interacted. But I will say when I did, and I actually saw him towards the end of his administration. I went to the White House. They had a thing for new members that were elected. I had a good conversation with him about, my time as his undersecretary and the things that I thought that we achieved that actually been kind of rolled back by this administration. But he was sharp. I mean, he was there. He knew he knew what I was talking. He brought some of the things up that I did and that we had done at the Pentagon to help our military families, and it wasn't, I didn't. It wasn't like he was like in a fog or anything like that when I was talking to him. And look, that's all I can go in what I've seen.
Okay, thank you.
Nice try. Mom tried with her Joe Biden medical gotcha question.
Darn it.
Yeah.
All right. We do have to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, especially Representative Cisneros, for being here with us. It was a much more subdued episode because Dad was not here. But still, at the end of every episode, despite our political differences, as a family, we must remind each other that we love each other. Haley, I love you. Mom, despite your Trump cap and all the things that you say basically on this podcast every week, I do love you. And as a surrogate member of the Colchin family this week, Representative Cisneros of my great state of California, I love you too.
Well, thank you all. Much love to all of you as well. And maybe you have to get me back on when your dad's on here so I can get the full experience.
You are welcome to come back anytime you want, but you should also know you might have been lucky today that he wasn't here a little bit.
Mom,
Haley,
I
I
love
love
you.
you. Go ahead.
Mom,
Go
I
ahead.
love you. Chad, I love you. Cisneros, thanks for coming on. Dealing with Mom. Appreciate it very, very much. Doing good work in California. So thanks for that.
Thank you. And go see Superman, Mom. Go see Superman.
Oh yeah, I will. I'll get back on that. I love you, Chad. I love you, Haley. You know I do. And thank you for being on our show. I love you too. And Dad really did want to be on this episode because he had questions. He really did. And I've got to get him past this hip. It's hard. Last night I was up only 7 times.
Wow.
Ain't
That's
bad.
a lot. Well,
He
thank
can't
you
walk.
again for joining us, everyone. We will be back next week.